Hey, welcome back to the Back to School Week. I tell you, tonight's episode of Back to School Week is gonna be like students eating stews for lunch. Get it? Because students and stews. Let me explain. STU. Students is spelled STUDENTS, while stew is spelled STEW, as in beef stew, chicken stew, etc. Enough of that. Let's get started here. What I want to focus on is the really main issue. And this one has been has been has been on my mind since I've seen people do what we're talking about. I'm talking about sleeping in class. And here's what I have to say. Very disrespectful. It's also considered disrespectful to the teacher and the other students. Professors don't like when students are late because it disrupts the classroom, and other students are focused on the late student instead of the professor's lecture, which is part of the common disruptive classroom behavior. But there's an article from USA Today says some teachers let their students sleep in class. A mental health expert says there are teachers who says there's the TikTok user named BCH Ullman, who garnered likes for a video he posted about cutting students some slack when it comes to sleep. Sometimes the nicest thing for a teacher to do for students when they come in, lay their head down and go to sleep, he says. Life getting harder, we all need some grace. And for user Miss Old says she also lets the students sleep sometimes. She believes when a student takes a nap in the morning, they tend to be more refreshed for the rest of the day. Less likely to have an attitude problem and are more likely to be motivated for the next activity. Okay, well, let's see what the health expert says. Experts agree sleeping in class doesn't always stem from laziness and instead could be a sign of something more serious going on. Licensed social worker at Talkspace says we think about children as happy human beings that are just completing their homework at school and living a happy life, but sometimes we can see that depression can actually be diagnosed or seen in children as small as 5 to 6 years old. Sleep issues are a red flag for depression. 6 to 12 should sleep 9 to 12 hours in a 24-hour period. 2015 analysis from the CDC found that about 58% of middle school students didn't get enough sleep, and neither did 73% of high schoolers. It's because of stress and anxiety. Screen time can also make kids tired. What can you do? Teachers who let their students sleep in class may have the right idea. What we see teach recently and allowing them to sleep in classes, let me see the concern is I can let them sleep. I can always communicate with them and try to investigate what's going on and help the child. Next important steps to involve the parent and counselor or both. Teachers will lean on school resources, especially with students' sleep issues. Parents who want to help their kids can reduce their screen time. Lastly, parents you need to talk to your kids, especially some sort of start transition or whatever. Encourage kids to talk about what they're feeling, what their apprehensions are, what their fears are. So that's the main issue. And for all you teachers out there allowing their kids to sleep in class, it has to stop now. Because if you let your child sleep in class, they're ignoring the number one reason why they're there, and that's to learn. And for all you kids to say, just let me sleep. School's starting at 9 and like 4 son. I mean, I understand. I get where y'all are coming from. You want school to start at 9 and like at 3 or 4 o'clock or something. Like you want to get more sleep. You want to go hang out with your friends. You want to go play video games and all that stuff. But that's not the way it works. But during the pandemic, it was because of all the Zoom classes. So as for teachers, if you have a problem with this, you need to get the parent and or counselor involved. Sometimes the principal can be involved and say, okay, what can you do? I mean, I only slept a few times on the bus, 2016, and during my sophomore year, December 2013. We were watching a movie, and I decided to fall asleep, catch up on it, and then I did not get in trouble. I did not stand up. I got away with it. That was because the teacher did not do anything. We got some more topics to talk about still ahead, especially in the truant, especially bullying, which is coming up next. Even for red flags. Even if bullying in school is a red flag, on top of sleeping in class. So up next here, it's all about bullying. In school, in class, wherever. What can you do? I've talked about this a lot of years. Stay tuned. With parents sending their kids back to school on sometime within August, this August or September or whatever, in all states, the main thing you want to look out for is bullying. And that is a serious issue. You need to keep an eye out for bullying as students head back to the classroom. As parents bring their kids back to school, it's important to talk to them about bullying. According to the CDC, 1 in 5 students are bullied. School officials urge parents and community members to keep an eye out for silent signs of bullying. If students love school in the past or now avoiding friends and avoiding activities that used to bring them joy, sit them down for a conversation. And that goes for all high schoolers. We have to make sure that everyone's not bullied. Because bullying is bad and very wrong. I've talked about this on the show dozens of times. A lot of times. And it is a very serious issue, and no one takes it seriously, other than Dr. Phil. He takes bullying very seriously. I take it too, very seriously. Picking on people's just wrong. You want to go pick on someone, you go, then don't be doing it in a public school. That's just bad. None of y'all may agree with me, but alright. Okay, I get it. If you're being bullied, talk to your counselor. Talk with an administrator. They'll help you. You can get help. Talk to your school official about your bullying problems. They're there to help. And most of the time, most kids who are bullied try to avoid school. That's the cause of truancy. We'll get to that in just a minute. We'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, we'll get to that in our next segment. That is the main cause of it. The main cause of truancy is the bullying. And again, we'll get to that in that in our next segment. Bullying is a very serious issue, and a lot of kids are skipping it because they don't want to be picked on. They don't want to be around the bully. I remember this. This is an example at work. friends of mine from work who worked at the who worked at my work at the Bluff, here in the Bluff, they got harassed by employees from another restaurant, which I'm not going to name names. I don't want to get them involved. I'm not going to name names in the situation. Bully 1, bully 2. Victim 1, victim 2. 2 bullies, 2 victims. I don't know what happened, probably harassment or something, but something needs to be done here. Workplace harassment is probably workplace bullying is just the same thing as bullying in schools. Now, making fun of people is just the other thing too. And the parents, you need to get involved in your child's lives. If you see them skipping school, if they don't want to go to school because of bullying, you need to be involved. No excuses. Get yourself involved. Get with the school. Have them talk to an administrator and work out a plan. So you won't be truant. You get your education and all that stuff. Which brings me to our next segment here. Truancy. Yeah, you guys are going nuts over this, ripping all the hair out of your head, screaming, I don't want to talk, I don't want to hear about this, ripping off the ears. There's nothing I can't. I mean, it's my show, my rules. Get your own show, get your own rule, make your own rules. That's how you can do this. But truancy is a very big deal, and as more and more, and as the school year starts with this year, there are kids out there who just don't want to go to school. What about for this year? As the first day of school starts, I think more and more kids are going to be skipping class. And 2 weeks ago, targets truancy and St. Louis County targets rising truancy problems. And yesterday, they considered hiring a truancy investigator. Last year, because of the pandemic, truancy cases were rising. And an article from KVDR says Raleig's alternative schools led truancy cases in early pandemic. And according to the graph from the truancy rates, the highest one is Adams County, 14. As for the high schoolers, well, Florence High School is at 38. .5 for this high school here, Hidden Lake High School, and Lester or Arnold is the highest ever. That just means that they just allow the kids to just leave class. Basically, if you're truant, you need to make sure you make it up. More absences, meaning you go to truancy court. In last shows, I've taught you guys how to prepare for truancy court, and I'm going to spend the next few minutes talking to you about how to prepare. You need to be prepared. Parents, I need you to listen up really good. This is really serious here. If you get calls from people saying your child's missing, blah 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 blah, and then you don't find where you're at, then you don't find out where your child's at. You basically text them and say where you're at. So you're at school. Basically it's like, no, you're not at school. They called me. Jeez Louise. What I recommend for all parents and your child is to download the Life 360 app. It works for me. It works for my mom. She knows where I'm at. And it would help your child to make sure that they stay in school. I recommend so that we can get all kids back in school and make sure that they stay in school. No excuses. Morgan, when we come back, and especially why extracurricular activities are a privilege. Just came to me after a clip from the principal's office. We'll be right back. First day of school's back in session, and a lot of these people want to sign up for clubs like sports, athletics, whatever. But many people can realize their future and all for their college and all that stuff. Well, yes, like cheerleading and all that stuff. Yes, but we have to understand it's currency. You don't just sign up right away. It has to be currency. The head coach has the right to remove them from that area if anything happens. In this particular case, from this student, in this particular case, from a student who was a cheerleader. In this particular case, from a from a school. This person his name's Brandon Levy. This is the Brandon Levy case that happened, I think it was a year or two ago. This was back in May 2017. And she was a school sophomore at the time. And during that time, the Supreme Court, in 81 ruling, Pennsylvania, overstepped its authority by punishing a high school cheerleader who used vulgar language on Snapchat when she didn't make the varsity cheerleading team. And it was like, the case stems from May 2017. It was because of a Snapchat. It was sent 250 followers after failing to make the squad, and then the kid who was the parent of the head cheerleader looked at it, and it was like, "You're out of here." His father was upset, and His I mean, there is the original article. And if you were to Google that photo, look at that photo. They would look at you, they would, then, and it would be like, really? And this is what it said: F school, F softball, F cheer, everything. Found its way to the coach of her cheerleading team, who decided to suspend her for a year. And after that, it was an 8-1 ruling, and like the Supreme Court said, always stepped its free speech rule. I mean, looking at the Supreme Court case, what I would understand is that I understand you're angry about cheerleading and all that stuff, but that's no excuse for you to be doing all those things. If you didn't make varsity squad, you can try harder. You got to keep trying. You got to push yourself. You got to start at the bottom first before you go on the top. If you go on the top right away, people are going to think you're popular. No. You have to start at the bottom first before you go up top. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. But what I'm basically talking about is that cheerleading and all the other activities, sports activities like band, choir, all that stuff, those are all privileges, not a right. And for those parents who may be thinking, "Oh, we spend our tax dollars on those pom-poms, uniform equipment, all this stuff, and why is it a privilege for the child?" When my mom's cheerleader, I understand. But it's what they want. Like, if you don't pass your class, I mean, this is the thing I'm talking about. No pass, no play. that got me to an issue after the episode of King of the Hill, where Peggy flunked the Flying Hawaiian because he didn't do his schoolwork. What is no pass, no play? Well, basically, it's a Texas public education policy, and it came as a result of the passage of House Bill 72 by the Texas legislature in 1984, and it became effective in 1985. And like it said, no pass, no play has changed. In fact, in the fall of 1984, but the idea remains as it did 35 years ago. If anyone participating in extracurricular activities can't pass all their classes, he or she can't play. The rule will go on to become a model for other states. So again, the rule is if anyone participating in extracurricular activities can't pass all their classes, you can't play. It's like this, it's a privilege. They can take away your extracurricular activities. Even if you do something bad in class, like throwing binders, all that stuff. So for those who sign up for your extracurricular activities, you need to make sure that you pass your classes. The privileges, not rights. No special privileges for everyone. Get your work done so you keep on doing what you love to do. We're back in with our final topic. Finally, the other issue I want to bring up is kids working while in school. I mean, that's the cause. It would cause truancy. Leaving school to go work and all that stuff. I get it. I understand, but there's no reason for someone to be like, oh, hey, I'm going to go to school. I'm not going to go to school. I need to go to work to help my parents pay the bills. I mean, not during school hours. You can't work while you're in school during school hours, period. Your job cannot be taken away from the school, period. Working late hours is strictly prohibited. What I recommend as you start your summer job, you need to talk to your manager and say, hey, school start for me like on this day. I was wondering if I could work after school hours. Just give me the manager and they will talk to you about it. What there needs to be is changes to where a policy put in place to where you cannot be hired. You can't be working during school hours. We cannot allow you to be working here while you're in school. If it's a school-based program, that's fine. But if it ain't, we're not going to allow that to happen. I understand you guys want to help your parents pay the bills, all that stuff, but there comes a time after you graduate. Tomorrow our back to school week continues with a lot of other topics. I'll see you on Friday. Good night.